All right, Matthew, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking tonight the Fieldhouse Brewing Dark Sour. Dark Sour, much like my mood much of the time. Blackberry, blueberry, small batch, proudly brewed in East Abbotsford.
Nice. Have you tasted it yet? How
Not
is it?
yet.
All right, first sip.
First week.
Yeah.
It's got a good bouquet. Nice.
It's good. It's more of a summer thing, but
Nice.
yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Not
Michelle?
not quite as good as it might be. I prefer something darker, but I'm kind of in a cold garage, and this is a beer that needs to be cold.
Perfect. Michelle, you got your Guinness, I'm hoping.
You're damn right I got my Guinness. This is
Got
also known as the Nectar of the Gods right here.
Cheers.
In my
Cheers,
Guinness
folks.
pint glass that Braddles
Ooh.
brought me from the Guinness factory in Dublin.
Nice.
And I can finally find canned Guinness in the States again. So, and
Excellent.
I even have it on my Guinness coaster. So
You're fully branded.
I am a Guinness fan.
This episode sponsored by Guinness. So I'm having a little snifter of Armagnac here because I fucking love
Fancy.
Armagnac.
Ooh.
Yeah, what the hell?
High
So I'm gonna have a
end.
little sip.
Smell it.
And I'm going to welcome anyone who happens to be here to our podcast, No Means Nothing. No Means No Thing, however you want to say it. Jury's still out, where we three idiots are trying to figure out the best No Means No song of all time from an objective standpoint. And there will be no arguments on that front. So I think we should dive in. I think I'll probably say this every time, and I'm going to hate hearing myself say it every time I listen back to this, but this is an interesting episode. Another good matchup of songs.
Yeah, I gotta say this was the perhaps the hardest. Certainly the pairing, the two matchups tonight. Both of them
Yeah.
were difficult for different reasons.
Yeah.
Maybe harder than other ones in previous episodes.
Oh,
So
God.
far.
Probably going to be some fights.
Oh, man.
Fights.
You suddenly
Blood.
weren't going to fight.
Little blood. Who knows? We'll see.
Some tears.
We will see. So we won't keep you in suspense any longer. Our first matchup is Life in Hell, which is technically not off wrong, right? I mean, it is off the CD that most of us know, but it's actually off of the Power of Positive Thinking EP, which was then rolled into the wrong CD later in 1990. But originally, actually, that's when this was released, 1990. But then I think most of us know it from the wrong CD. And Valley of the Blind from, of course, the powerful 0 + 2 = 1, 1991, which, give me a fucking break. These two albums were a year apart. That's not, well, I guess not really. 89, 91, that's 2 years.
2
But
years, but still, yeah, pretty
Still.
close together.
two of
And
some of the best albums of all time. So
Yeah.
close in time. So yeah, we're gonna compare and contrast these two masterworks. And first up for us on Life is Hell, Matthew, let's hear your thoughts.
Foolish girl and swelling woman. Here's a blunt knife for your bosom. Here's the devil's hand you shake. Watch what the other tries to take. Here's the devil's hand you shake. Watch what the other tries to take. Hell! Life in hell! Hell! Life in
okay, I have a complicated relationship with the song. I think, as has happened several times in recording these episodes, where I am forced to take the song out of the album and listen to it on its own, and I like it better than I did before.
Yes.
Because in isolation, I like this song a lot more than I do in the context. And as you said, I got to know it on the wrong CD, and I think for me, it really suffered from where it falls. Second to last And then of course there was it's fourth to last on this next 2005 re-release with the even extra stuff. So yeah, I don't know. People love this song. It's commonly one of people's favorites, as is the one following it. Like I am wrong. It seems like Europeans in particular are very, very passionate about these songs. I remember that from the No Means Whatever forum. Oddly enough, though, the European story, this is one of the only things that I have on 12-inch vinyl from back in the day. I have The Power of Positive Thinking, which a friend of mine bought for me, thinking it was something that I wouldn't already have. Well, I didn't, but I had all the music that's on it because it's got those two songs plus Manic Depression, I think.
Right.
And he brought it to me from Switzerland.
Wow. That's a good friend.
Yeah. And he's
That's
actually
amazing.
the same friend who obliquely introduced me to No Means No by lending me stuff that he'd been lent. So yeah, I like the song. I always sort of was wondering. I'm interested to see what you guys think about the subject matter, because clearly it's about sex and power, and it's could be interpreted in a kind of misogynistic way, but I don't think that that's what was intended.
Quit reading my notes, God damn it.
but it might be, that I was a little sensitive, and maybe I'm having trouble distancing myself from that because back in the day, only No Means No, anti-rape slogan. This is a song could be interpreted as being about rape, but I'm kind of thinking now that it's an interesting question. Maybe that it seems like maybe Rob wrote the lyrics, that it is about why women sleep with men who are bad for them, but I'm not positive about that.
Yeah.
So why do women sleep with shitty dudes?
Well, show me one who's not. And well, I'm not going to finish that sentence.
But yeah, I really like the bridge in this song, especially like, can you not distinguish pain, red nail, and red shame? Where the shrieking dissonant guitar, like when they really, really let go, it's fantastic. And then they snap right back into the tight, like thunderous drums and everything like that. So yeah, I'm not sure if the message of the song is as clear cut as I always used to think. But yeah, interested to know why you guys think it might have been called Life in Hell. Is it this sort of dichotomy of like, I can't remember the exact lyric, but is it brain or is it passion? Kind of thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the song itself, it's a bit. There are loud parts and quieter parts and slower parts and fast parts, and so it's very No Means No-y in that way. But yeah, as I say, where it fell on the album, like the fact that it was preceded by everything on the wrong album, maybe it's a little tired by the time I got to that in the song order. And if it had been elsewhere on the album, I might have sort of connected with the song a little more back then. Yeah.
Nice.
That's about all I have to say about that.
How about that?
All right, Michelle. You're
All
up.
right. Yeah. I'm good. I'm going to try and not geek out here because I love this song. It is in my top 3 No Means No songs. And the beginning of the song and the way the band sounds like they're down the street.
Yeah.
And they're coming in on some fucked up skateboard or some shit, and then they're right in your face. It's beautiful. I love the first line of the lyrics, "Foolish girl and swelling woman." That is just such an artful, beautiful way to say what he just said. I don't know. You know what I mean? I love the way he phrases that and says it. I'm not making much sense, but I after hearing the music and then those are his first words, it's just your mind's already blown with what you've just heard, and then he just starts in with this foolish girl and swelling woman.
Yeah.
And then after that, here's a blunt knife for your bosom. I think if I got the lyrics right, I'm not a lyrics
You did.
writer,
You
You
did.
got it.
but I love this song. I will never get sick of it. It will always give me the chills. I think it's the bee's knees, and the drumming in this is just. I'm gonna stop because I can seriously just geek out, and even if you played it right now, I would just make funny noises and like, would you listen to this? It's an amazing song. Period.
Not to criticize you, Michelle, but we're all here to geek out.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
I mean, I'm talking about like sound effects and like drool
Bring
coming
it.
out of my mouth. Like
Bring it.
I've got it bad for this one.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So yeah, I kind of like Matthew. I think this song, when I pull it out, no pun intended, is really like I like it a lot better for some reason than when I hear it in sequence. And I don't know why that is. When I was listening to it this time, I was and I think part of it is, I mean, we've talked about this off the air sort of, but I'm hearing these songs. I've still heard these songs a million fucking times, but listening to them for this podcast, I'm hearing them a bit differently.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess for obvious reasons. So this song really hit me differently this time. And I liked it a lot more. Like you, Michelle, I love the opening to the song.
Oh
I think
my
that's
God.
fucking great. The way
Yeah.
that muted guitar climbing up the scale
Yeah,
into that
yeah.
super crisp, precise bass riff that is so capital W wrong, right? Like that is like, I think to me, I think one of the reasons this is a lot of people's favorite Wrong album. I mean, No Means No album, that they're probably wrong, but it's a lot of people's favorites. It's because of that bass sound. I think this is where his bass sound hit its peak, in my opinion. So the sound on this album is it's in my blood as Rob sound, and this song has it to a fucking to a peak. It's so fucking.
It does sound like it's going to strangle you.
Yeah. And you could play a single note of the bass from this song, and I'd know what it was from because it's so crisp and staccato. And you're right, Michelle. The drumming is fucking out of this world. It's so good. It's so good. And if you focus in on it, it's so detailed and subtle in the way, but it's still pummeling you about the fucking face. But it's so good. It's so good. And yeah, Matthew, you mentioned the bridge. That is so good. The way that it's talking about red nails and red shame, and that guitar is the red nails, right? Like it's just so
right.
It's so good. And again, another way that to me, it's one of those passages where all the layers of the song are working together perfectly for the meaning. It's like the way the lyrics are, the guitar, everything is speaking the meaning just in its own language. Nothing's fluffy in it. And about the meaning of it, right? So you hit on this, Matthew. I've always gone both ways about this song. A funny little personal anecdote. Back in college, I took a class, Variations in Human Sexuality, right? Which back in the 90s was all transgressive and had all sorts of weird fucking shit in it. And they wanted you to write an essay about a piece of music that dealt with sexuality. And so I did this song. And I don't even remember what I got on the paper, but I remember them going like, "You're fucking weird, and this is weird, and what the fuck?" I'm like,
Your parents.
You're sitting here showing me like weird porn in the class, and you're saying I'm weird. But anyway, I don't know what the point of view of this song is, and I love that. I can't nail this song down. I almost feel like there's a part of it that is it's Rob being the priest, being the evangelical, like taking on that character as if this is an evangelical excoriating a woman for getting pregnant, because there's a lot of holy imagery in it, and the talk about damnation, that all may be a little bit on the nose, right? I'm not saying that just because it's called Life in Hell, but there's some, I don't know, when I listen to it, I can hear it as an evangelical excoriating a young woman for being sexual, and yet I can also hear it the other way. I can hear it as a real feminist song. So I don't know, but the lyrics are really good. So I think the one you were reaching for, Matthew, is "Woman, a world in one complete. Your heart's awake, your mind's asleep."
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Which is so fucking good.
Come on.
That is so good. So I don't know which way this one goes. I do know that this has one of the great, hilarious fucking endings, which sounds like a guy who's pissed at well, not only that, but the guy, he's like, "Oh, God damn it. Oh, shit." It sounds like a guy the condom broke or something, right? It's just like some fucking thuggish asshole who's like, "God, So I don't know, like, right? It's just
It's probably
weird.
so-
Oh, now I can't unhear that. Thanks so much.
Yeah, sorry.
Probably some
Right,
scene
sorry,
on the
audience.
recording where one of the guys dropped a beer or something, and
Yeah,
you know,
right. It could be, but it's and yes, and I did write about that little falsetto. They just sound like they're having a good fucking time at the end of that
Yeah.
song.
Yeah, totally.
So I like it a lot more than I did previously, I have to say.
More and more, I'm sort of thinking that I prefer and actually I think that probably the feminist angle is a little more accurate, more likely. You know,
for them,
Right.
yeah.
you know, the son is inside the woman, and you're so, like, he's saying you're so powerful.
Right.
Like,
It's
why
true.
are you
Burn stronger.
why are you messing with this? Like, anyway, blunt knife.
And there's nothing positive about, and I think one of the reasons you're probably right is there's nothing positive about the masculine in this at all, which is not very evangelical, right? The masculine in this is portrayed as just swarmy snake, someone who's fucking using you. And even at the end, the masculine voice sounds like a fucking idiot. Oh, god damn it. You know, like, that's so yeah, I think you're right. And
in terms of musically, and I just thought of another metaphor of maybe why I didn't connect with the song. Okay, you have Wrong, and I just wanted to look at the track listing to make sure I remembered. So, you know, the end of the original Wrong album, you got Rags and Bones, which is, you know, so many people's first, like, love
Gateway
of
drug.
Nobody Knows. Yeah. Then Oh No Bruno, which is like so straight ahead and silly and just like pure John Wright. And then All Lives is
All
such a sort of
Lies.
quiet, you know, coda to that album. And so, you know, you've eaten this incredible, rich, complicated meal, and you're sitting there and you're just like patting your belly after All Lies. And then somebody says, here's some grilled fish.
Would you like a thin mint?
Yeah, not even a thin mint. No, just like an entire other
Right.
course. And, you know, you don't always. I love grilled fish personally, but you know, you don't always want grilled fish.
Good metaphor. And you know, that really makes sense, because it wasn't on the original album. It wasn't intended to end it, and it wasn't intended to come after All Lies. That's not part of the original sequencing. So yeah, I think that really does color my feeling of it too. It's just not where it was meant to be originally.
I think it's probably recorded in the same sessions or similar sessions, because the
Oh, it must have
sound,
been. Yeah, the sound is the same.
the
for
sound
sure.
is the same. It's just maybe it would have fit in better elsewhere on the album.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Song is Bee's Knees. That song is the Bee's
it's good.
Knees.
It's fucking good. And we're moving on to, I think, well, I'll save my opinion for myself, but here we go. Valley of the Blind, off 0 + 2 = 1.
Zero. Daylight about the function of the eyes, about the walls and the doors and the mirrors inside. I saw a mushroom cloud, I took a rocket ride, and the flash of the blast really opened my eyes. I went doo doo. I've been living in a dream, now I'm washing my hands. Will they ever come clean? I went doo doo. I'm not naked and free, while the eyes of a blind are all staring at me. My hands in different kind, somewhere around in the valley of the mind. What are you afraid you'll see? If you open your eyes and take a look at me.
What do you think, Matthew?
Valley of the Blind. Okay. We've talked before about how maybe some later No Means No albums we don't know all the lyrics to. This one, I think I probably know every lyric on that album. I can probably say them without even listening to the music. The Valley of the Blind, he's doing that talk singing thing that he does so well. The flow of his lyrics is just so perfect. And I'm a literature scholar from way back as well. You know, there's internal rhyme, there's tons of assonance, and that's just the sound. It isn't even getting into the meaning. This is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite songs on 0 + 2 = 1, which probably makes it in my pretty close to the top of the range in terms of their entire output. But yeah, I love the way it's bookended by nothing. I mean, the title, of course, is from In the Valley of the Blind, the one-eyed man is king, and he's asking them, I'm flawed. What's all your problems? Open your eyes and you'll see nothing. Like there's maybe why do you think I'm so great when I'm not? I'm flawed. Yeah, I don't know. And of course the boom doom.
Yeah.
The drumming is just like so thunderous, and then just that punctuated after every couple of lines is it's just so, you feel it in your chest, you feel it in your soul. It makes you feel powerful, and that's certainly one of the albums that I would have been, riding around my bike at night in Victoria and just like going faster and faster up and down the hills, and feeling so full. And yeah, and of course, this song wants to kill me.
What does that mean?
My favorite No Means No songs, I feel like they're so powerful that they are out to get me.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? That's
Yeah, I
heavy.
can sympathize.
No, just that it's so powerful that it might destroy me.
Yeah, right. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Almost too much to bear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
All right.
kind of wondering, because of the talk singing, I hadn't really thought about it. There are other songs on 0+2=1 where he's Rob is doing that, and I'm wondering if he's doing that because it was easier after his surgery for vocal nodules.
Well, and hold up here, because I'm
Yeah.
sure you caught it, but this is not just Rob. Andy takes that whole first part of the song. That's all Andy.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
both
course
of them
he is.
singing on this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, there's like, I won't skip my turn here, so I won't. But I think I'm wondering if this just strikes me as kind of like, I think Andy wrote a lot of this. It really feels like a stock taking sort of like, there's just a cadence in the words that feels very Andy, more Andy than Rob to me in a way. I'm wondering, I don't know, who knows? Maybe someday we'll find out who actually wrote it, but it does have that talk singing that Rob does so well, but Andy too, right? And it actually, their voices they're not as distinguishable in the song as they are in other songs. They
That's
bring
true.
it together really fucking well in a
they
really
do.
interesting
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
Anyway, I'm going to back off. I really would like Michelle to dive into this before.
Oh well, no. I mean, come on, you were on a roll here. Look, I do like the catchiness of this song and the intro, and this song again has a fantastic intro that just gets to you. And if you're not tapping your foot or nodding your head, you might be dead because it's so good. And John, of course, is. I mean, I'm always going on about John being an octopus, but I just don't know how he does it, but you can still hear the finesse in his playing, and again, you don't know who to listen to. I do like the back and forth verses between Rob and Andy, and I did hear it, but yeah, I totally agree that it's very hard to distinguish, but it's there, and I do think it adds a lot to the song. To see this live, which I don't know if I ever have.
Not me. I wish.
Would be a celebration of what's cool and how much a super talented three-piece can sound, because they're just holding their own and they don't need anything extra. And I like that. I think the next song is Mary, so I do. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's gonna be a day of
It better come up against a real
roses
shitty
in
song.
your
If that doesn't
room.
go through, I'm off the podcast. I'm fucking out.
Jordan's making, for those of you who can't see it, which is everybody, the sort of the sort of gestures that somebody makes to the chef after an incredible meal.
Right, yeah,
Exactly.
It's the X.
Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
He threw roses to everybody around.
Exactly.
One thing I do want to say, like you guys were touching on earlier, is this podcast. I have fallen in love with this band again, because to sit there and, number one, have the honor of being asked to talk about their music, which is, I would have done that my whole life if anybody would have listened to me. Around me would have known who they were. But this band, they read books and they listen to music, and you can tell.
Yeah.
And they are learned men.
Yes.
And I'm getting the hots for Rob again, and that's I love Rob. I love.
Nice. Well, so one thing I'm kind of glad neither of you mentioned this so that I could stick my flag in this part, but to the sequencing, I don't think you can talk about the song without talking about the fact that it comes right out of the last line of 0+2=1, where he says 1 - 2 equals, and this song starts nothing, right? It goes right into this song. It's he ties the equation together, which is fucking brilliant. It's so good. So good. Yeah, and this I was saying I there's parts of this to me it feels like an Andy song. I don't know why. There's just a feeling about it. It feels like a song that Andy had a bigger hand in. But I love the way that, and actually I think in this one I prefer Andy's verse. I love both verses, but in terms of the singing, Andy's got such a ability to be snarly yet subtle and always in control of the tenor of, and so does Rob, but there's just something about in this song in particular, those first verses, it just fucking super does it for me. Super does it for me. And I love the lyrics of this song. I think I'm not going to try to explain it. I think that's always stupid and no means no song, but it feels almost like a generational anthem to me. It feels like, they talk about, I saw a mushroom cloud. I took a rocket ride, and the flash of the blast really opened my eyes. Those were two generational events for these guys. This was, these were, the nuclear bomb, the Cold War and the moon landing, and all that, and just talking about how, unlike other generational songs that are sort of like, I know everything and you guys suck. This is more like, you guys suck, and yeah, I'm kind of shit too. I don't know fucking shit. So what the fuck? We're all like, they never spare themselves when they're railing against something. They never spare they never lift themselves above anybody else. They're clear to place themselves in the same layer of shit as everything around them. And that's so honest. It's one of the reasons I love this band so much. They're humble. They're humble, and yet not afraid, not humble, not like fruity humble. They're humble in the way of like, yeah, I'm going to say everything fucking sucks. And guess what? I'm part of that. I'm in the same, I'm in the same suit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the one line, he's in the Valley of the Blind. What you see, that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing. Yeah. It's so good. And I just, the command with which they can sing so quickly and have it be, it's so staccato and quick that it is an instrument, more so than even some other songs.
It's a percussion instrument this time.
It's a percussion instrument. And so there again, right, as you were saying, Matthew, it's like just the sound alone, the way they put the plosives, the way the rhymes happen internally, externally, all of that adds to it. And then there's the meaning of the words underneath that as well. So how the fuck does anybody do this is my question. How do you make songs like this? I don't know, but this is one of my favorites off this album, of which it's probably one of my favorite albums. So I would agree. I don't know that it isn't my favorite for sure, but I absolutely love it. So this is going to be tough. This is going to be a rough one, I think. We've got to.
I know it's coming.
We've got to vote, and Matthew's first.
Valley of the Blind. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Anything off of 0 + 2 = 1 is going to get a boost for me. And again, it might have been a more fair comparison, but that song is just, it's so perfect and makes me so gives me so much power.
Yep. All right, Michelle, how about you?
Well, I think you know what my vote's going to be, and I'll say it just for the record. I wholly vote for Life in Hell. However, if you were going to put it up against another song, Life in Hell is going to lose tonight. I already know it, but I think it was up against a really good contender, and I'm proud it did it as well as it did. But yes, I'm voting for Life in Hell.
So before I cast my vote, I want to point out that in all likelihood, because of the way all of this matchup is going to work and the numbers of songs and even odd kind of shit, there's going to be a wild card round where things that have been tossed out come back in. There's just no way that's not going to be able to happen. Or we can engineer that. So I think you can keep this one in your back pocket if you want, if this goes out and bring it back, right? Yeah. So my time for my vote. Yes, it is going to be Valley of the Blind for me, but it was much harder than I expected. When I first saw this matchup, it was not hard at all. I'm like, well, I know. I don't even have to think about it. Then listening to it, I had to really pause because I found myself liking Life in Hell far more than I already had, and I already really liked it, but it hit me a lot more than it had. So this was not an easy choice. I think this was a tough matchup.
Even though you guys didn't vote for my song, I really liked what you said about it because I could tell you really liked it and respected it. So I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. I'm not grabbing Kleenex, but I will have a sip of Guinness.
and might not be gone forever. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. All right, so let's move on to our second round of matchups, and this time I'm going to remember to give myself a little space to play a clip of Blinding Light. Dive into talking about what we think about this one. Both of the matchups in this, Blinding Light and Victims, I always want to say Victims Family, goddamn it, Victims Choice, have alternate versions on 0 + 2 = 1.5, which was released like 2012 or something by Andy, tossed it out there for us, like the generous bastard he is. So there's these different versions of Blinding Light and Victims Choice. In terms of Blinding Light, I realized today, or not today, it was earlier this week when I was trying to find these songs, that both on my copy of 0 + 2 = 1.5 and on One Down, Two to Go, Blinding Light is missing from my MP3 collection. It's just fucking gone. So I didn't have either of these. I had to go to YouTube to listen to the shit. I had never heard, because I didn't have it for some reason, I'd never heard the version on 0 + 2 = 1.5. So I don't think, unlike the pairing matchup that's about to come, I don't think these are as different as some other versions might be. The two versions of Blinding Light, but the one on the studio, it's not really studio, but the outtake from One Down, Two to Go is like a whole half key or whole step higher than the other one. It's a totally different key. It's like
there's some different instrumentation too.
There's some different instrument. Yeah, exactly. Probably clearly because one is, well, I don't know. Maybe, do you think they both had Andy on them, or was the second one recorded without Andy after he left? I can't
hard to say. I guess we'd have to ask him.
Anybody else have any thoughts on the two versions of this before we dive into
I only listened to the one. I should have listened to the other one.
You should. Which one did you listen to?
I listened to the 0 + 2 = 1.5 version.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the other one's up higher. The one off One Down, Two to Go is like half step or a whole step higher than that one, which actually makes a difference. I'm going to talk a little bit about it when I talk about the song.
Right,
for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I actually heard these long before 0 + 2 = 1.5 came out, which is I think 2010. I had them on a tape from it would have been right around right around when they were recorded, 92, 93 or so. It was one of my preciousest things that I had. Yeah, I got it off a guy who got it off of somebody who interviewed No Means No. So I'd heard some of these, and I always thought it was really strange. We're supposed to talk about Blinding Light, but Victim's Choice, the track on 0 + 2 = because on a tape, you don't distinguish tracks the same way. But it had Happy Bridge and Ghosts, and they're all kind of mushed together, and those are on 3 different albums.
Yeah,
which is kind of an interesting thing to have happened. But yeah, I was happy when they came back so people could hear them and I could hear them, because I'm not about to drag out an old tape and figure out how to make it into MP3s or something.
Yeah, right.
And send it to us.
All right. Well, let's talk about these songs proper then. I'll dive in first with Blinding Light. Yeah. So I don't have a lot to say about this one, frankly. This is definitely a No Means No B-side. I get why it was cast to the side and brought back when it was. It's a good song. All No Means No songs are good songs, Baldwin notwithstanding. And I think I like the studio version maybe a little bit more, just because I think that's the step higher makes it feel more fanatical, which, I mean, this song is really clearly a religiously fanatical nuclear apocalyptic fantasy, right? I mean, you've just got someone who's a religious fanatic praying for the burning away of the world in fire and nuclear fire. They have a couple other songs like that. I think More ICBMs or Burn. Those both have those similar sort of like just let it all fucking burn down. But this one has that real Christian mindset, and they're good at capturing the fanaticism. And I think Rob is really good at letting his voice get that across, really inhabiting that fanaticism and selling it in a way that's pretty fucking scary, actually. So I do think this song really succeeds on that, and just has that feeling of fanaticism, joy, fury, batshit craziness. And it's a great musical wall of thrash, basically. Although listening to it this time, as we kind of mentioned to before, it's hella tight, just like all their stuff. And there's a lot going on in there that I may have dismissed when I just kind of cast it aside as a B-side. It's got really fucking tight musicianship and singing, but it feels like a B-side. It does. That's it's still relegated to the B-side for me. So how about you, Michelle? What do you think of this one?
Right. Well, I wrote down that I think he sounds like a screaming priest or a sinner just out of the confessional.
Yeah.
And you know, when I first heard this, like, I don't listen to lyrics much. I'm like, am I like fans of a Jesus Christ band? What's happening? Whoa, hey! But then, you know, I forgot about that and didn't let it affect me. But it is a kick-ass song. The drums are thundering.
Yeah.
And the other instruments are equally pounding it. And the song just writes itself. It's that good. The way it starts out, it's the emergency that it is. The song just writes itself. It's very laid out perfectly, and it always leaves you with a smile and an understanding of the magnificence of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really well written, thunderous song.
Nice.
And I'd like thinking about Rob Ray being a screaming priest, because he is.
He is. That was his costume, right? It fits.
Yeah.
Mr. Wrong. All right. What about you, Matthew?
Yeah, well, I like the song for how straight ahead it is. I mean, it's clearly a song about zealotry, but like you said, it's also about the joy, the beauty, the bright, blinding light. I mean, I also thought it was interesting, actually, that out of the 4 songs we had Blinding Light and Valley of the Blind, but you know.
Right.
I really like the bridge where John speeds up. It almost seems like he speeds up. I don't know whether he does. He's probably right on time, but the song almost feels like it is gaining even more momentum, and it actually is getting faster. And it reminds me of, you said thundering, Michelle, and I wrote down the same word.
Yeah,
I also wrote down it's like a runaway train.
Yeah.
You know, it's completely
Unhinged.
Unhinged, but inevitable.
Right.
This person is sort of screaming that there's beauty in the destruction. There's inevitably to the destruction, and this is my religious act is to destroy.
Oh, heavy.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a sweaty one for sure. And
That's a good description of it.
in terms of the even just the rhythm of the drums in that the bridge, it really does remind me of a locomotive.
Yeah.
Just like this incredible momentum. Yeah. So great
Nice.
song, great fast, but quite simple song for No Means No.
Right. Well, and so that's contrasted with a song's not so simple, Victim's Choice, which is on the studio release Worldhood of the World as Such, and as we mentioned, off of this interstitial record 0 + 2 = 1.5. So I mean, it strikes me this must have been a song. I think all those songs, and you mentioned that this goes into instrumental Ghosts and instrumental Happy Bridge, which is already instrumental. And on each of those albums, these were songs that got an asterisk that said with Andy Kerr. So right, so these were songs that they'd written with Andy and were probably planning to record later with Andy on a real studio, and just didn't because he left the band. And so they brought them back as just the new trio of the makeup. So in the version on 0 + 2 = 1.5, there's no lyrics. It's just music, which is actually fun as fuck to hear. It's really fun to hear. It does make me realize, and this is probably true for a lot of songs, but it just doesn't feel true to me, that the lyrics probably came maybe long afterwards. It wasn't necessarily written at the same time. This is one of those songs where the music came first and lyrics came later, which I think is probably how and we'll talk about this maybe at some point, how all of Ausfahrt was done. That really strikes me as an album where lyrics came long after music was made.
It's a good possibility.
Together. Yeah. Whereas I don't feel that way with a lot of the really early stuff. It feels like, no, it was just fucking just came out whole cloth. Which, what the fuck do I know? That could not be true, but that's how it feels. This song, though, okay, so I'm going to talk about the studio version off Worldhood because of the lyrics, and so that we can get both of those things together. Totally different than Blinding Light. First of all, this is a prog punk, I'm not gonna say masterpiece, but prog punk fucking slammer. I really, really like this song. It is actually one of the songs I like most on this album. And it goes all over the place. I mean, from the weird country fucking, opening, Think I Got a Date Boys cry with the weird little loopy fucking, cock rock guitar, and then into just that there's that crazy fucking Rob riff with the guitar just grinding under it. It goes so many places, and it never outstays its welcome in any of those places. It does just what it needs to really fucking well in every section, and then twists your nipple right at the right time to go somewhere else. Like, I'm not doing that now. Including, and I don't know, Michelle, it seems like you're not really a fan of these parts of the songs when they do this, but that weird, funky, weird little pop country riff in the middle, right? The weird little jamboree hoedown they have right in the middle of the song.
It's just not on its own, however, in the context of the song, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, it's so fucking good. And so, yeah, I really like the musicality of the song from front to back. I think every part of it fully commits to whatever it's doing in that particular moment. Lyrically, the song's really hard for me to nail down. If I were to, and this is complete bullshit, I know it's not true at all, but this almost feels like if someone said, Rob, you need to write a Mother's Day song. All right, fuck you. Here's my Mother's Day song. Because there's all this shit about, like, hair in your nose and frost in your brow. You look like a bear, but smell like a cow. You made me a meal of milk and wheat. I opened a vein and bled at your feet. And he's always, and joy to the world, you dirty old bag. This is the best time I ever had. One day was an eternity. Here's to the years that you gave to me. It's like he's like talking to his mom about, like, yeah, you gave birth to me, but this fucking life sucks. Fuck you. I don't know. I'm not bad. Whatever. Look what you birthed me into.
He would never say that to his mother.
He would never. I know he wouldn't. It's not that simple, right? I mean, of course, it's an existential song. It's about just being a being and being born and being in the fucking filth of having been born. Right. I mean, victim's choice, right? It's right there. It's right there in the title. But there is a lot of imagery from birth to death and the journey in between, and none of it's pleasant. This is not a song where he's waxing. I mean, that's no means no. So what are you going to do? But it's a very poetic song, and I really like the way that he lilts in his cadence. Sometimes he's very playful in this song. At times, and in a way that I don't always hear from him. He can be very playful, but sometimes sarcastic playful. But this is like it's almost a jazzy playfulness in the way that he sings some of those.
When you see him sing it, he looks like his eyes are all open big and he's smiling.
Exactly. It feels like a fun fucking song to play and sing for sure. Like one that they'd have a hell of a good time singing. And I know I've seen this one several times live, and it was always really, really fun to see. All right, I've said enough. Michelle, what do you think of this?
I don't know. I could listen. You keep going, man. You probably you do say it better than I, but I do like how this starts out a little bit goofy, and the verses that are spoken with the drums that go into this fucking sick jazz odyssey that John is playing. You know what I'm talking about. I'll pause here for you to play it. Put it on there. Oh my God, that is just stunning. Like that jazz drum breakout that he's doing. Boom, 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 and, come
Fucking
on,
crazy.
come on now,
Yeah.
right? And then
Oh,
there
yeah.
are certain sections that don't grab me. With you said it earlier. I can't remember what it was, but one thing I do like about this piece is that it showcases Tom's different guitar because he does noodly stuff, but then he can get real growly with a boom, boom, boom. I mean, he just showcases his guitar playing really well in this song. I think this song is totally bent. I love it. And just like you said, Jordan, where you think you're going down this one street, suddenly you take a hard right where you're like, hey, what the hell is this? And then you're like, oh, hey, and you kind of like it, and you don't want to go back. It's a fun, awesome, well put together song. But
Nice.
the jazz drumming thing there,
So good.
just give it up, everybody. Give
Yeah.
it up.
I'm giving it up. All right. What about you, Matthew?
I'd never listened to this song so with such attention because it is so almost random. I mean, it's so incredibly put together, but all the different parts fit together so well. It's got that kind of binary thing, that contrast that's in so many No Means No songs that I like so well, where there's like it starts very silly, very upbeat, and then the chorus is very quieter and more sort of throbbing and dark. And then, of course, that bit in the middle, it almost reminds me of like a game show theme,
Yeah.
something like that. But in terms of the meaning, I sort of took it to mean a little bit more straightforward, victim's choice. It's a song about murdering, to me.
Think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, you end with an ear if you start with a sound. I mean, that's sort of something inevitable, break in a circle that never comes round. You never get out, right? Open my eyes to see the light. There you were to my delight. This is a murderer reveling in his murdering, and he is so thankful to the
That's
victim.
That's him looking up at his mother when he's just born. I open my eyes to see the light, and there you are to my light. He's just got born, and he's looking up at his mom.
Murdering his mother, maybe.
I think he's
murdering his
accepting
mother.
Just
his
kidding.
joy in killing, and he is so thankful to the victim for giving him this joy that he will give him the variety, the incredible variety.
Oh, that's so gross.
Good book.
So it's the victim's choice what gets done to them in the murdering.
Well, I can't wait to see the comment section on this one. Nice. All right. Anything else? Anyone else got anything about this song?
I think that's about everything I wrote down. Just of course the drumming though. I mean, you always got to give it to that. Just I don't know how that guy changes gears so fast.
Fucking A, it's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, time for the big vote. So I get to vote first here. For me, this one was a lot easier. This victim's choice comes out by a couple football fields. So Michelle, what about you?
Oh, totally. I'll join you with victim's choice. Absolutely.
All right. Matthew.
I'm gonna go victim's choice as well, but it was a lot closer. I actually really like Blinding Light. I like how actually both of these are so I don't know, driving.
They are, yeah,
in different ways. But I think Blinding Light is a much simpler song, lyrically, thematically, and musically. Victim's Choice just gives me the incredible variety.
Nice. All right. Well, we have sent Life in Hell to hell, unfortunately, along with Blinding Light, and we have ascended to the Valley of the Blind and made our victim's choice. And so we will pick a couple more rabbits out of the hat, or ravens out of the hat, as it were, for next week. And just remember, nonsense is better than no sense at all. So we'll see you guys next week, or 2 weeks, or 6 weeks. Fuck it, we don't know.
You sick and tired of the same old